What is happening, sports fans? It's your main man, Matt, from the DFS 5-pack. I'm rocking it solo. It is Monday, March 14th. We got 9 NBA games to talk over today after his 6-week paternity leave. So wanted to get him on here with me today, but he is jam-packed. He's going to be on here a bunch with me this week. Me and him have a bunch of things going on together. We're going to be collaborating a lot. We've got a couple different things in the works. We're going to be promoting a new site called ABC Islands, which we're excited to start doing. So stay tuned for all that stuff. I'm sure he'll be back on with me tomorrow. Until then, you just got my pretty face. Like I said, we got 9 games to talk over. Picked out 5 guys that I think are very relevant to this slate right now. Obviously, a lot can change because the NBA is the NBA. One guy being out is a big domino effect or can have a huge domino effect. So with 4 late games tonight, you really got to pay attention. And if you can't late swap, I would recommend not playing too heavy. That being said, let's dive into it and talk about these 5 guys. As soon as my dog would shut it. Hold on. All right, now we should be good to go. All right, so a few no names on here, and then a couple guys I'm sure you got, or one guy at least you've definitely heard of. Hopefully you've heard of Terry Rozier, just absolutely balling right now. So there are a ton of good plays on this slate. You're really going to have to be picky and choosy. I mean, 9 games, ton of studs, tons of good mid-tier options. Very few musts for me on this slate. That said, I like Scary Terry, a ton here. 46 plus in 4 or 5. You see that stretch where he had 50 plus in 3 straight. Wasn't great against Boston, but followed that up with another great game against the Pels. Very, very affordable at 8,100. Great matchup in OKC against the Thunder. I just think he looks good in all formats. Like I said, hard for me to call him a must, given how many good plays were on the slate. But if I'm building one lineup right now, there's a good chance he's in it. Next up, a guy maybe not all of you have heard of, and that's going to be Brandon Boston Jr., the Kentucky product, with the Clippers just announcing that Marcus Morris, along with Reggie Jackson, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, and Robert Covington are all out, leaving them with 9 players. And I think Boston gets good run tonight at 3K. He's risky. Obviously the game log doesn't show much. He usually doesn't play big minutes. But when he has gotten decent run, he's been productive. Check that 21 and 18 minutes, that 18 and 18 minutes. He's been productive in the limited time he gets, 28 and 22 minutes in Charlotte. So there's a chance he has a nice role in this Clippers rotation tonight with them resting so many guys. And at 3K, you could do far worse. Now, there's opportunity cost because he's taking up a roster spot. But if you want guys like Giannis and Jokic and Embiid's of the world, then you're going to have to spend down somewhere. And Boston and then Amir Coffey, who we're about to get to, look like 2 of the better options. So speaking of Coffey, he's been starting a little bit and playing big minutes basically every game. Been much more solid than spectacular. I mean, his DFS scores leave a lot to be desired. But with Jackson and Morris out, he's just going to be needed to do more. It's not the greatest spot in the world. Cleveland plays good defense, but they're missing Jared Allen. They've been hit hard by the injury bug over the past couple months. So it's not a Cleveland team at its finest. At 3,700, there's just not that much risk here. I can't imagine he plays any less than the 35, 36 he's been playing, especially with Morris and Jackson out. At 3,700, he looks like a cog type. I don't think you have to play him, but at 3,700, he looks good if you want to fit in other studs. Speaking of studs, my favorite stud on a slate loaded with them is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. Got absolutely rolled last time out by Golden State. He did not have a great game by his lofty standards. I love him in bounce back spots. This game should be really competitive, as evidenced by the 1.5 point spread. I know that Utah isn't the greatest place. We don't usually love picking guys going into Utah, but this isn't your mom and dad's Utah Jazz of like the 1980s and 90s. They play at a much faster pace. Giannis, like I mentioned, in a bounce back spot in a tight game. With a guy like him, the matchup almost doesn't even matter. I just look for a game that I think is going to be close and competitive, and for him to play his full allotment of minutes. I think that's what we get here. Big game for both teams. I love Giannis in this spot. I think he goes for 70 plus. Last but not least, with the news coming out that John Collins is out, I see no reason why we can't and shouldn't go right back to Onyeka Okongwu, the USC product. Very solid. He was a guy that I liked a lot coming out of the draft last year. Just a solid big man that puts up DFS scores when he's out there because he finishes around the rim. He's a good rebounder. Not the greatest shot blocker, but he does it a little bit. He's just a prototypical big man that when he gets run, he puts up DFS points. And with Collins out and Atlanta not really trying to play Capella big minutes, I think Capella in his own right is sneaky just because he's 6K and has upside. But with him playing 22 and Okongwu playing 28 last night, I'm going to side with the guy that played 28 and is 3.4K. Almost 10x last night. I mentioned the studs on this slate. If you want him, you got to spend down somewhere. The only thing I don't like about Okongwu is that he's only center eligible, but with Gobert probably playing and Whiteside out of the mix, it lessens that hurt a little bit. And at 3,400, I like him a lot in all formats as a building block cog type. That's what I got for you guys. If you want more content, more videos, more me, more Derek, more Ryan, go check out the DFS 5-pack. As I mentioned, me and DFS Patriot are going to have a bunch of new stuff coming at you guys sooner rather than later. So stay tuned to check that out. We're going to be talking more about ABC Islands, a new website, a new web book that's going to be really, really popping. So again, excited for all that. If you have any questions, I'm around. Thanks as always. Until tomorrow.